good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Hands-on SAP Dev with me again, DJ Q Macro. So I've got to start out with, I've just noticed my window, I've got my blinds open. I've got to start out with an apology to all those people who joined and got ready to join the live stream yesterday. It was completely my fault. I'm just an idiot. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I just got the day wrong. I put the 4th of April instead of the 5th of April. And in fact, I came to the, I was preparing this morning and I went to the YouTube live stream page and I thought, what's all this chat? And I saw a chat from Laurent. Is that how you pronounce your name? Lauren? Tell me. I can never remember. And from Ulrich, and from SVO, and from Arun, and from Tom, and Arif's Learning Lab. So complete confusion caused by me. It wasn't really daylight saving, it was my small brain. So there we go. So good morning and thank you for coming back. I do like, what was it that Ulrich said, things are dead. No. Oh no, it was Lawrence. Lawrence said, I think it's a daylight saving time. He said, no worries, time for coffee. Anyone else? So that's a lovely attitude. So thank you for being good about it, understanding about it. You probably guessed it was me because I'm just an idiot. So we're here. So we have had 2 weeks off. The week before last, I was in Germany doing some code jams, and last week it was the holiday extended Easter related weekend. So, good morning, one and all. Chiara, buongiorno. And Ulrich, good morning. And Helmut, good morning. And Janine, good morning to you in the Netherlands. And Matthias, good morning to you in Mesquita. And Antonio, good morning to you, Matthias, in Germany. From Mesquita, Germany, yes, of course. And Daniel Schlachter in the house. And Raphael, good morning to you in the Schweiz, in Switzerland. Amazing. It's great to see you all again. I'm going to take my jumper off, partly because, it's not that warm yet, but branding, not supposed to have any brands, and I don't know whether this has got any brand on, but, take it off anyway. There we go. You're allowed to have this brand. I'm allowed to have this brand on. Anyway. So, yes, 2 weeks off. Yeah, lots to talk about. I hope you're all well. I've got some things to share. Let's dig straight in. What I want to do today is just sort of recap on where we finished off last week. We just started going into the whole associations, and we're going to do a bit more associations today. So I'm just keep doing this because I'm conscious that you can just, like that, you've got half a logo there. You can see the steam from my coffee I've just made. So there we go. Anyway, so as I'm sure many of you know, this is the Hands-on SAP Dev live stream show is about us, not me. So it's about you. So the more chat, the better. The more comments, just random stuff. It doesn't matter. Questions, opinions. It's all good. So I'm going to start. I'm going to start off by. Let's flip to the main scene. Where are we? Yes, but by just talking about a couple of things that we collectively discovered. Slight weirdnesses. There was one. I don't know whether there are folks on here. I'm sure there are folks on here do remember this. Yogananda, good morning to you in Munich, in München. Welcome, one and all. One of the weird things that we saw, and we sort of got used to seeing, was if you stare at the bottom of the VS Code editor, the status bar, I guess you call it, and then at certain times we would see, I've just saved that there, we would say error during type generation, see CDS output channel, and so we've seen that quite a few times, and I think it was somebody on the chat that spotted it first of all. Raphael says, I really liked your interview on NeoVim. Oh, Raphael, thank you for reminding me. I'll share that. In fact, I've jumped straight in and I wanted to share other things as well relating to videos and things. So yes, let's just jump there first before diving into this. So where are we? Here we go. Oh yes, all sorts of stuff. First of all, let's do that now. SAP Devs. so we got where Ian Thane. Here we go. Ian Thane has been maintaining a list of code talks. So Ian Thane has been the long-standing face of SAP Code Talk, but we sort of rebooted it, and we now get more opportunity. You're going to get more opportunities to listen to more people interviewed by more hosts from the Developer Advocates team, including me, for example. And I had the absolute honour and privilege of chatting to David Kuntz, Dr. David Kuntz. I called him Dr. David Kuntz because he is a doctor, but he never calls himself a doctor. He's so humble. Anyway, here it is. Wait a minute, SAP Code Talk, click, stop. Stop. Let me just share that in the old chatteroonies. There we go. Helmut says David is, I'm saying David because that's how he says his name. David is amazing. He is amazing. And Raphael, yes, exactly. So there, if you haven't seen it, check out the interview, because it's all about the way David uses NeoVim and all the really cool stuff. So for example, NeoVim has a built-in language server client for the language server protocol, and we can use that, and I use this as well, to connect to the language server for the CAP from CAP. So the language server, the CDS LSP. Here we go. So npm search SAP CDS LSP. So as you know, Node.js, the Node.js flavor of CAP comes in the form of a collection of npm packages, modules, whatever you want to call them, libraries. And one of those, which is not really part of the core, even the core development kit, I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't know. Is the CDS language server protocol package. The CDS language server implements the language server protocol for SAP's core data services. It can be used in many popular IDEs like Visual Studio Code or Eclipse, or any editor that has a language server either built in like NeoVim, or attachable via a plugin like Vim, right? So David's interview, we talk about that and how he and I, for example, and Helmut, for example. Helmut, you also have a repo. Where is it? Is it in your? Let me go to Hackiderm. Let me search for Helmut. Helmut. What's going on? Helmut. Search results. Helmut Tammen. Here we go. Here we go. Is it here? Is it here? Did he put it here somewhere? Helmut. Yes, there we go. Docker lazy envim. That's what we want. That's from Helmut there. So this is all about you folks as much as me, right? Let's get rid of that and that and that. So anyway, yeah, this talks about that, and it also talks about David also talks about the debug adapter protocol, which is another sort of language server protocol like thing for attaching debuggers to editors. It's just amazing. So yeah, I really enjoyed the interview, and I'm very honoured to be able to chat to him. So that was that. Thanks for the reminder, Raphael. So while we're here, SAP Developer News, the latest, as in it came out last night. I still think the SAP Developer News is like a Friday thing, but we publish it now in Thursday evening. So there's the SAP Developer News, and in the Developer News, we have lots of different things, including it's April. So we've got the Developers Challenge. Let's give you that link without that marketing stuff on the end. Get rid of that. There's the Developer Challenge being run this month by our good friend and colleague Daniel Roblewski, which is awesome. It's all about SAP build apps and everything. That's really cool. So that's that. By the way, the news item that I recorded, the two news items that I recorded, that one there, for example, here, I thought, I went for a run day before yesterday. I thought, oh yeah, here'll be a good place to record the news. So there is one side of the balance beam of the lock gate, and then I think I was recording something on Terraform and the Terraform provider SAP BTP, and then I thought, different view. I turned round, went on the other side of the lock gate balance beam and recorded. So that's basically literally the other side. And where that is, I thought I'd show you. I'm actually moored here at the moment in a place called Berska, and this is the Leeds and Liverpool Canal down here, and that goes to Wigan, and that way goes to Liverpool. But there's a junction here with the Rufford branch, and the canal goes up there, and that junction there, I was standing basically there when I recorded it. So yeah, there we go. That's a little bit of background information. Anyway. Get rid of the SAP Developer News and that one there. There is the March release of CAP that just came out. That's also covered by Kevin Riedelheimer in the news yesterday. So yeah, check out the March release of CAP. All releases all the time, amazing. And now, so let's get back to where I was. If I save this, we get error during type generation, CDS output. So I talked to the wonderful big brain people in the CAP team, and they told me, or a specific person told me, yeah, this is to do with an experimental sort of beta type thing to do with types. So this is up your street, Helmut, I think. Anybody else? Helmut, tell us a little bit in the chat about TypeScript and CAP and what you do. Good morning, Henry. Good morning and welcome. So what was I talking about? Oh yes, so this error occurs because of a certain setting that's in the extension, the SAP CDS language support extension for VS Code. And it's still beta, so they're still trying to work out the best way of sort of approaching this. But basically, in order to stop this happening, if you want to stop this happening, say, we don't want these errors. By the way, the output channel, I never knew what an output channel was in VS Code. CDS, where is it? CDS, there. We get all these errors. Look, installs cap.js CDS typer as dependency of a project to enable type generation for this project. That is where the error is coming from. Why is this happening? It's trying to generate types because in the default settings, in the CDS types, type generator is enabled. Okay, let's close that a minute. So if you turn that off, okay, and then I'll try and recreate this error, right? If I save that now, we don't get the error. So there we go, a little bit of a background, but also a bit more of a background. One of the other things that we saw, and we've seen, again, somebody spotted it. Remember when we had, let's go to here, and we had, for example, place of birth, country, and we wanted to use the country, can I do that? There we go. So that now generates, where are we? What we're doing? That generates CDS compile to edmx services.cds. That now generates somewhere in countries. So we get the countries type from SAP CDS Common, right? We've seen that before. We don't need to go in again. Helmut, yes, this helps reducing boilerplate code for CAP projects. Exactly. Thank you, Helmut. But we always got this weird imported artifact country is not used in this source file. And we were shouting at, yes, it is. There it is. Right. Good morning, Joseph, and welcome to you. Good morning, everybody. And so I raised an issue internally, and just to show you that what we do here on this channel is important. The wonderful person, what's his name? Christian, of course, Christian. He said, oh yeah, oh blah, 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 I'll fix it. So basically we're going to get a fix because we, on the Hands on SAP Dev live stream, the live stream posse, saw it. So, and I was looking at the fix here, and I was like, what the heck is that? I've seen that before, and I remember now. Has anybody seen this, right? This is called, what's it called? The nullish coalescing assignment or something. Let's just look it up. Nullish coalescing assignment. Let's look at it on the classic MDN, the Mozilla documentation, something or other. Here we go. Nullish coalescing assignment, also known as a logical nullish assignment operator, only evaluates the right-hand operand and assigns it to the left if the left operand is nullish. So this basically here, oh, I've got rid of it. This basically, where is it? Oh, no, it's there. We've still got it. Basically it says, let's do that there. See, known as the logic, only evaluates the right-hand operand and assigns to the left if the left is. So basically, if that's null there, it will evaluate that and assign it. Otherwise, it won't. Anyway, I thought it's always nice to dig in. And if you dig into the SAP CDS extension for VS Code, CDS language support, you can download the VSIX file. There we go. Where's the thing? Where is it? Where is it? There we go. You can actually download. This is how I sort of dug into it. Download the extension, and it's a VSIX file. But basically, a VSIX file is just, there's a VSIX file. It's just a zip file. Unzip -l SAP SE VSIX. Look, there it is, and it's all in there. So have a look at that, and be good morning as well. So it always pays to be curious and also call out things what you don't understand. So that's being fixed, and that fix will work its way towards us. Anyway, God, it's 17 minutes past 8 already. What I wanted to do is just to sort of, let's get rid of that again. Let's go here and no, not that one. Undo. There we go. That'll do. Right. Let's dig into associations a little bit more. Who remembers way back when, 2 weeks ago, when we did this association? We've got some data in here. Get rid of that VS Code thing. We've got some data in here. Bookshop's authors and bookshop books, and we added the author ID column into the CSV. Now, what I wanted to just focus a little bit more on today is the language in CAPIA that talks about these associations. So in CAPIA, so apologies to Chiara and anybody else from Italy. I'll probably say CAPIA, where of course I should really be saying Capira, but anyway. So there's some apologies. Oh, I've got something to share about that as well. Get rid of that. If we have a look in fact, we know where it is, right? We've seen it before in the cookbook, domain modeling. Probably one of the most important places you need to sort of be focusing on here. Let's put that in there as well. In the domain modeling, this is what we're looking at. One of the core concepts, associations. So associations capture and allow us to define relationships between entities. We know that. And what we added, in fact, why do we do this? Let's put that there and then put that there. Make that a couple smaller. There we go. Is that too small? Maybe one bigger. We don't need that bit either. Okay, fine. So managed 2-1 associations. So we've got at the moment, all we've got is this 2-1 association, and it's a managed association. And I wanted to dig in a little bit to what that meant. When we define this association, what happened is that we suddenly got in our SQL an extra field. And in fact, we can play around with this a little bit, and we can see, because this sort of exploration allows us, or encourages us to use other CAP tools to get to know them a little bit better, right? So is this making sense? Let me know if it's making sense. So we can say CDS compile. And I was playing around with this earlier this week, and I'll show you what I mean by playing around with CDS compile --help or --? Let's just make that full screen for a second. This allows us to compile or translate models, as in CDS stuff, like we have in here, right, to different output formats. Now, by default, it will compile to CSN or season. So CSN, and again, I'm going to apologize in advance. This is the way I learn, and I'm a little smile there from Chiara. Thank you, Chiara, for understanding. This is the way I learn, and I'm hoping, let me know in the chat, I'm hoping this is the way that you like to learn too, by staring at, digging in, going deep, as well as, along. So CDS compile we know, or you may have heard, that CSN or season is the sort of the internal representation of the models that we define. Now, I wonder if, yes, okay. Let's put that back over on display 3 for a second. And what I will do actually is bring in my terminal, because I can do more things in the terminal. You can do it here as well, but the terminal might be nicer to use. Let's put that on that side as well. And let me go to B2B there, right? And yeah, okay, perfect. Now, what I will do is say CDS compile to season. Now, actually, let's do it one thing at a time, one step at a time. It will tell us you must specify a model to compile. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, we've got here, let's get rid of that again. We've got here our model in a file called services.cds. So let's just do that. CDS compile to CSN services.cds. And we get a ton of stuff, right? Let's have a quick stare at that. There's loads of it. There's loads of it. Now, why is there loads? This is super short here. But here we've got an absolutely ginormous converted internal representation of that. Okay. Why? Because actually what it's doing is it's compiling all of the stuff in here as well, because we're sort of importing this, right? So in order, let me just go across to here. Let me make that really small, a bit smaller anyway. So this is sort of masking us being able to sort of get our brains around what we really want to look at, which is, what's in the bookshop service. So what we could do is because we're only importing SAP CDS Common so that we can have the CUID. But if we have a look in SAP CDS Common, we know, and we can remember, can't we? If we do CUID, this is an aspect. So basically we can define our own CUID aspect and sort of get rid of, just for the purposes of keeping the compiled version short. Why don't we do that? Tell you what, we could, yes. Yes, okay. Why don't we, let's do this as well. So we'll say list services.cds, which is just list the file name, and we'll use the amazing enter function, ENTR, which will watch for those files listed and run a script or run something every time that changes, right? So we can say enter -c, which means clear screen, CDS compile to EDMX services.json, service.cds. So, and it will run it for the first time you do it. Okay, so let's just, there we go, let's have that small so we can sort of see it, see the whole thing. We don't need to read it, but you can see the shape of things. Let me know, Helmut, you're always good at letting me know how big and small fonts are. Let me know if that's still sort of okay, just as a picture of what's going on. Because what we should be able to see here is we have in our books entity and our authors entity an ID element called key, which is a key. We can see it here. I'll do it here as well. CDS compile to EDMX services.json. We can see here. Wait a minute, property name. There we go. There. We got that one in books, and we get that one in authors. Okay, that's what we want. So Chiara says, Garfield says, why does it not import CUID only and not the whole common? That's a good question. Now, I suspect, and maybe Daniel S might be able to answer this, might not be able to answer this. My gut feel, and this is, I did wonder about this as well, Garfield, and I was thinking, I wonder if people will ask this, because I'm asking this as well in my own brain. I suppose in order for the compiler to work, it needs to bring in everything, because CUID may rely on other things inside that file. Okay, so for example, if we bring in country, for example, and that, you can see it also refresh there. If we bring in country, if we have a look at what country is, it's a type, but the definition of that country thing, that type in this case, relies upon other stuff in this same file. Association to SAP Common Countries, and SAP Common Countries is inside this SAP Common Context, and that itself is defined as an entity which is decorated with an aspect called code list, which is also in this file. Okay, so my small brain thinks that the answer to the question that you're asking, Garfield, which is a super question, is because importing just one thing, as in importing just CUID, in many ways makes sense to us humans, but in other ways can't necessarily be sort of resolvable, because, you know, what does that one thing mean? You know, you'd have to sort of dig into all the sort of descendant requirements to make that a thing, to reify that CUID import. Does that make sense? I think that's what the answer probably is. I can't think of any other way of bringing things in from a library like SAP CDS Common without bringing in the whole thing, because you're going to need lots of other bits and pieces in there. Does that make sense? Visas, good morning. Sorry, I apologize for confusing you about this live schedule. It's my fault. I just got the day wrong when I scheduled it. For some reason, I thought Friday was the 4th of April, and I didn't check because I'm an idiot. So it's not your fault, and there's no reason for you to be confused apart from the fact that it's me that confused you and everybody else. So sorry about that. So Garfield, put in the chat whether that makes sense or whether you have a different idea. All ideas are welcome, of course. Let's get rid of that again. There. So at the moment, let me do that again. Let me bring that up there, and we'll do that as well. List services enter -c, cdisk compile. There we go. So we get all of that. And in fact, what a beautifully succinct way of saying it. Yes, it would need the entire type hierarchy. See, this is why this show is all about you folks as much as it is about me. We're together on this. So perfect. In here, what's the sort of the second level thing? Definitions. So if we say here, see, JQ definitions, make that bigger again. Definitions, keys, what have we got? There we go. Ah, okay, that'll do. Okay, so we'll do that, right? So we'll say here, put that in quotes. Oh, what's going on? Quotes, and then say list services.cds entr -c, and then we'll have bash -c, and pass that whole thing to bash. There we go. So now we've got a slightly better. There we go. We can sort of see. Let's do that again. I'm just trying to make it work with. Is that okay? So we can see everything on the same screen. Garfield says, Daniel Schlachter says, to my knowledge, using from will always bring in the full content, even if you only use parts. Yes. And I think, Daniel, thank you for confirming that. And I think that the reason that we discussed that Garfield also stated here, I think that's a very sensible reason. You know, logically, I couldn't see that working otherwise. Get rid of that line there. There we go. So now, there we go. We can see all of the entities in the season that are being emitted in the compilation to CSN, in the CSN. Did you spot the little preview as icon that appeared on the editor CDS files? No, whereabouts, Daniel? Preview. What? You mean in VS Code? What is going on? Let's have a look. Little icon. Help me out here. Preview as. What little icon? Not open with. What? Preview as. Where do you mean, Daniel? You're making us very excited here. But what? Did you spot the little preview as icon that appeared on the editor for CDS files? There maybe. I don't know what you mean. I'm being too stupid. Put it in words small words that I would understand, and when I look at it, perfect. Right up a corner. Oh, right up a corner. Is that it? Preview. See, I've never seen that icon before. Preview as. Oh my goodness me! You saw it here first, folks. Preview as. Well, preview as OData. Preview as OData. OData.cson. Interesting. Let's do that again. Oh my goodness me. Preview as EDMX. Preview EDMX v4. There we go. Do we get the same thing? Yes. Oh my goodness. So does that mean that if we add something, I don't know, title, let's call it fruit string, it changes there. Look. Amazing. Daniel, where did that come from? How long has that been there? This is amazing. Okay, this is amazing. Right. So maybe we'll use that next time. We could use that now, couldn't we? Well, I'm all halfway down the track now. Let's carry on with using this. But Daniel, tell us in the chat. Is that a new thing? Did that come in the March release? I've not even looked at the March release. I've not had time to look at the March release yet. But here we go. VS Code rocks. Garfield says VS Code rocks. It does indeed. It does indeed. But sometimes, some nerds like me and Helmut, I'm sure Helmut doesn't mind me classing him in the same group as Nerds Group. We like building our own tools from small tools. It's amazing. But VS Code does rock. It's pretty cool. So we're getting all these different. See, one of the beautiful things about using tools ourselves is that we can then parse the output of CSN, for example, and get it down to the list of things we want to see. March release. Okay, perfect. Let's have a look at it. March 24, March release. Oh my goodness me. Preview. There it is, folks. There it is. Come on, DJ. Keep up. Put that in there. Amazing. Right, so anyway, where were we? Let's dig into that a little bit more next week, shall we? If you want to dig into that next week, put it in the chat. So I want to cut down this thing. It's already 8:34. What, DJ? What are you doing? So we're going to say instead aspect CYD, and we'll define our own aspect. Now, of course, we're going to get this sort of error saying duplicate definition of top. Of course, yes. Okay, we're going to get rid of this. In fact, let's do that now. Let's get rid of that line there and that line there, and we'll have key ID, and it's a UUID, right? Let's format that as well, because format document. What's that? Shift option F. So can I do that? For some reason it doesn't. Yeah, I tried that. It doesn't work. I don't know why. Format document. Anyway, there we go. Now, as soon as I save that, this should remain the same, as in, it should be regenerated, but we shouldn't see any difference. And this should contain a lot fewer entities. Gulp. There we go. Okay, so now we sort of cut down so we can start to sort of have a better view of, that worked as well, have a better view of, compile the CSN there. In fact, let's pass it into IJQ, right? IJQ, we can have a look at it. So we can see here, we've got our definitions. We've got CUID, we've got bookshop, which is a service. We've got bookshop.books, which is an entity. I mean, I don't know about you, but this to me was always not a bit of a mystery, but it was always like, oh, there's a lot of JSON there and it looks complicated and oh my goodness me. But actually, in understanding exactly how associations not work, but are defined underneath, and what the result of us writing stuff in here is, actually having a look under the covers, behind the curtain, really helps us learn about the basics, right? So we've got all these different things, and we can see also how I suppose in one way how the CAP team, how the developers see this stuff, see the services.cds content, see the stuff that we define, we as developers define in CDS or CDL. Very interesting debate going on at the moment in my small brain about whether we should, this is really CDL, core definition language, which is part of the CDS family of languages. And this is CSN, core schema notation. Remind me, somebody, before the hour is over, to share a blog post with you, which I published this morning, in fact. So we can see that there's a service kind, there's an entity, and look, the way that the entity is sort of expressed, it's expressed with its fully qualified name. The sort of the name, this is where sort of namespaces and service wrappers and context all sort of coalesce into essentially what is the same thing, right? So Helmut says, there are 2 reasons I don't use VS Code. It's getting really slow if you install lots of plugins, at least in large projects. 2, you have to use the mouse very often. Yes, that's also the reason. I mean, VS Code is pretty awesome. As far as graphical mouse-driven editors go, and the keyboard shortcuts on VS Code are pretty good as well, right? But for example, keyboard shortcuts here don't work. Now, it's probably me overriding a keyboard shortcut with something else in macOS. I don't know, but yeah. But as far as that sort of thing go, VS Code is pretty nice. So yes, I use NeoVim as well, but I'm not using NeoVim on this live stream for this Back to Basics because I don't expect everybody to use NeoVim. I would like to, but there we go. Number 3, you can't use Vim shortcuts. The plugins that help here do not work very well. Yes, I've got the Vim plugin. What's it called? Locally installed Vim emulation, which allows me to move around much better than I would do. Otherwise. So I do like that. It's okay. It's good enough. Let's get rid of that again. But yes, I get what you mean. So in here, in Bookshop Books, we have elements and we have author, and we can see there, Bookshop. There's Bookshop Books author. And we've defined it as an association to authors. What does that mean internally? Okay, let's have a look at what that means internally. We can see it means it's an association. It's of type. I was curious that this is the word kind here, and this is the word type. I don't know why we don't use the kind property key instead of type. I don't know. No, I'm sure there's a reason for it. But anyway, target, bookshop, authors, keys, reference ID. So that's a really simple definition that comes about because we used a managed association. Okay, so what I did, this is before I forget to do this now, what I did is I wrote a blog post on this as well. Let's put that in there. And I wanted to just dig out from all this stuff, just those elements of any entity, the elements that are of type CDS association, so I can more easily see it. So I've got a little, and I've added that to our CAP B2B thing. So in fact, if you look here, CAP B2B, I've just pushed it this morning. It's there, associations.jq. So I'm going to run this little JQ thing here, and you can too. So let's do that. Associations, it will just spit out. It'll spit out all of the entities, and within the entities, it will spit out any element that's an associate that's of type CDS association. So now we can say here, there we go. We can say here .associations.jq instead. So we can now start to watch for things that change. Okay. So now let's do that. That was a very long way round, but hopefully we're now set up, and we've learned a little bit on the way as well. Hopefully we're now set up to start to dig into where is it? The contrasting, because I think it's really important to understand what this section is really telling us. So we've got this thing here, use associations to capture relationships. fine. And it talks about a to-one association and a managed to-one association. And the succinctness, the brevity of how this is expressed, I can't state strongly enough how beautiful that is, but also how it helps us as developers keep things as clean as possible. What's that statistic? I'm sure there's a statistic about, developing, and you're reading code 90% of the time and you're writing code 10% of the time. So to make CDS definitions readable, maintainable, comprehensible, the shorter and the more succinct, the better, right? So it says here, in contrast to that, we could also use an unmanaged association with all foreign keys and on conditions specified manually. Now, what does that mean? That means that actually, if we have a look, for example, let's go across to here and do the same thing, but instead of compiling to EDMX, we'll compile to SQL. Oh, services, sorry, yeah, services.cds. There's our SQL. Well, in fact, talking of building stuff, bash -c, let's add that and then pipe that into bat. Source is SQL, I think. Is that maybe just bat? Maybe I just need bat actually. No, hold on. Source SQL and plain. Oh no, language SQL and plain. I mean, how, who needs an IDE? Just got my terminal is my IDE. Anyway, so we can see that without us specifying a foreign key field, we get, with this managed association, this thing here. And that's why when we did that, let's do it. Oops, let's do it here. Clear. Let's make that smaller again. When we did CDS add data, we're going to get a directory called db/data. CDS add data, right? There it is, db, because that's the convention, db, data, and data is a convention with a db. We get the bookshop books with the fields ready for us to put in some CSV. We've seen that before, right? We don't want DB. And that's why we've got in the books, we've got our ID, title, author ID, and then the IDs of the authors, right? There's the authors. Come on, put it down there. There's the authors. So we get this for free. And we did cover this very briefly last time. It's like, why is it called author _ID? Well, if a field is going to be generated for us, an element, I suppose in CDS terms, it's an element. If an element is going to be generated for us implicitly, it's got to be, constructed automatically. So it gets constructed from the combination of the from and the to, the source and the target. So author is the first part, and it's an association to authors. And what is the element that's a key of authors? It's implicit here. It's CUID. There, look, ID there. Sorry, it's given to us by the CUID aspect, and so it's this one here. So it's author _ID. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Reminds me of Talking Heads. Stop Making Sense. One of the best albums of all time. Anyway, so, if we were to not use a managed association, as it sort of describes us here, what we'd have to do first, let's try and do it manually so we can sort of feel our way, right? Let's just separate that with a line, there we go. First of all, we'd need some sort of foreign key field. And why author foreign key, right? So already we're sort of deviating from, somebody else in my team might have a different way in their brain of thinking about the name for this element. What type? We can see here, we can use this type of. See, when I was this is a really good reason to read CAP Hire as well, because we get to learn from the examples. I've never seen type of until last week. Type of, who knew? Type of, there, type of, type of. Anyway, let's not, type definitions, define type, anyway, let's not go that way down there, type of. And so we can refer to type of author's ID. Okay, so basically, but even here, for me, in my small brain, I'm thinking, well, yes, I know it's, author's colon, and we can do a control space to get autocomplete through the CDS plugin, the CDS extension for CAP, right? Which knows about the structure because it's parsed it and everything. So it knows that the two elements in this thing here that we're referring to are ID and name. But if I was right, if I didn't have autocomplete or I wasn't using it or whatever, it's not obvious to me that ID is the thing, because ID is sort of subsumed in this CUID aspect. But anyway, ID. So there's the first sort of little challenge. And then we go across here, and we've still got to obviously define this. So association to, where are we? Association, so author, association to authors on, and now we've got to manually construct on. What's it say here? Let's do that. Author.id. Yes, there we go. Author.id equals to author foreign key. Right? Now, does that still work? Let's see. Does that still work? Save that. Now, we've now got a field in here in the SQL called author foreign key, which replaces what we had before called author underscore ID, which then also means that in here, if we start CDS watch now, we're going to get an error, I think, are we? We're going to get an error? Yes, we get an error. Error on server start, SQLite in CDS deploy table bookshop books has no column named author ID, because we're now trying to import something. Where is it? There, author ID. So we've got to change this to author foreign key. Let's save that. Oh, now it's working. So now it's working. So we've got to sort of make sure things sort of align. There we go. So, and does that still work? Let's go to here and open up localhost 4004, 4004. Oh, 4004. I can't believe I've got a 4004. Bookshops, authors. Oh yeah. I have to. Does anybody else have a problem with SharePoint? When I go to SharePoint, which I have to do internally at SAP, the resources that SharePoint send back to me, which contain HTML, are sent back in HTTP responses with the content type application JSON. Why? And it means that when I have my JSON viewer, which will of course understandably try, any content coming back that's got content type application JSON, it will try and print it and format it nicely, which is what I want, which is why I installed the JSON viewer. But because SharePoint sends HTML back and says, oh, it's application JSON, the JSON viewer trips up and formats the SharePoint page, and then it all breaks. It's like, what is going on, SharePoint? Anyway, so now we've got this, and we can say bookshop books. And now we can say, does that work? Expand equals author. And that works, okay? But it works only because we've made a lot of effort here. Now, does that make sense? Have I gone overboard? But also, look at this. We now have a different style of association. Instead of, I'll tell you what, let's do something else. Let's say here, also author association association to authors. Let's have that as well. So now we get a different, internally, this managed association here generates an internal representation that's different. There's the also author, keys, ref, ID. And this is our author CDS association, but it's an on, and then it's a triplet in an array. We get ref author ID should equal to ref author foreign key. Okay. There we go. So that for me is easily a good enough reason for when it's a 2-1 association, using a managed 2-1 association. So let's get rid of that, and let's get rid of that and say author like that. And now, of course, let's put that back again. Undo, save, there. Right. Finally, in the last few minutes, let's just add what CAPIA refers to as a too-many association. Okay, so we've got our 2-1 association going from books to authors, and that also means that 4004 we can go from books to authors as well in an expand, for example. We can follow this navigation property. But what happens if we want to go from authors back to books? Expand equals books. Of course, we can't do that because we haven't defined a navigation property books. So let's do that. Okay, and we can see we need, of course, a too-many, because what we said right at the start is, a book can be written only by one author in our super simple example, but of course an author can write more than one book, and that's why we've got Douglas Adams writing 2 books in our data. So here, association to many books, but we also need another on condition. With a too many, we can't have a managed association because it actually says here, where it says here, too many associations are unmanaged by nature, as we always have to specify an on condition in order to find that way back from the which author back to the books. As in this author, that book, this author, that book, this author, that book. Okay, so we need this on condition. So let's do that now. Books associated to many books. Where are we? Books to many books on. Now, I'm sure you've seen this sort of, what's it called? What does CAPI call it? Where is it? Backlink association. Okay, we're linking back, right? So for the backlink association, you'll see something like this on books.author equals $self. And it took me ages to get into my brain what this should be. But in my brain, I've now figured out that what we want, let me do that there. Let's just repeat that so we can just sort of repeat that. On, we start from the source, as in here, and what we're using to refer, or to what we're using to name this backlink association, i.e. books. So copy that, books, and then the dot, the other, why is it all black there? Why is it all black? Anyway, dot, I mean, we can see from the command completion, the autocomplete here, that we get the possibilities author, ID, and title, which are from the books. But basically, it needs to refer to the element in the target entity that is the reciprocal association, author. There. Oops. So I don't know whether, did that confuse anybody else at first? And .self is a nice little sort of convenience, I guess it's a nice little convenience thing that refers to me, as in the value of the key field, which is the ID field. Does that make sense? So now with that, we can now run that and it'll work. Does that make sense? Well, before we go, let me, because it's already 8:56, what is going on with time? To have a quick look, if you want a quick look at this little what's it called? Associations. Here, that blog post that I put the link in the chat to is all about that. Okay. So yeah, have a look at JQ, have a look at this. Tell me, let me know now if looking under the surface helps you. I think we're going to do a little bit more on associations next week, but then also we're going to look at the difference between associations and something else super important in associations, which are compositions, as in, sorry, something also super important in relationships. So we have associations and compositions, and we're going to look at the difference and what that means and how they work. So let me know in the chat if that is okay for us doing that next week. I think for the next few weeks at least, I'm going to be around, so definitely next week. So yeah, thanks very much for joining. I'll see you next week. We'll do a bit more on associations and move on to compositions. Let me know as well. Have a play with the associations JQ. Have a play with this. Catch up. Everything is in the repo CAP B2B. So if you want to catch up with where we are, we've got this. Oh, also I was also digging in a bit more to CDS compile, and I wrote this little script to take a snapshot of some CDS source or CDL source and compile it to CSN, CDL, SQL and EDMX and store those in files so I could do diffs between them. So I was sort of, writing some CDS, compiling it to all the things, changing that CDS, compiling all the things again, and then comparing them. So that's what that does. Okay, well, thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time. Bye.